In the heart of the Edo kingdom, nestled among dense forests and flowing rivers, lay the village of Ekose. This village was known for its rich traditions, where the people lived in harmony with the land and honored their ancestors with reverence. It was a place where the old and the new coexisted, where the spirits of the past were said to wander the earth, watching over their descendants. Odion, a young man known for his strength and wisdom, was the pride of Ekose. He was the only son of his aging parents, who had raised him with love and taught him the values of hard work and respect. When Odion came of age, his parents decided it was time for him to marry to carry on the family name and bring honor to their household. After much consideration, Odion chose Ivie, a beautiful maiden from the neighboring village. Ivie was known for her kindness and beauty. Her laughter was like the tinkling of bells, and her presence brought joy to those around her. The marriage was arranged with blessings of both families, and the entire village came together to celebrate their union. On the day of the wedding, the village square was adorned with colorful fabrics and palm fronds. The sound of drums echoed through the air as dancers in traditional attire performed under the watchful eyes of the elders. The women of the village, dressed in vibrant wrappers, sang songs of love and unity, their voice blending in perfect harmony. Odion and Unveil were married according to the customs of their people. The elders performed the rites, invoking the blessings of the ancestors and the gods of the land. They shared kola nuts and palm wine, symbols of peace and prosperity. The ceremony was a beautiful blend of tradition and love, and as Odion looked into Ivie's eyes, he knew he had made the right choice. Their happiness, however, was short-lived. Just a few weeks after their marriage, Odion received news of a job opportunity in a distant city. The offer was too good to refuse. It was a chance to provide a better life for his new family. And though it pained him to leave Ivie so soon after their wedding, he knew it was a sacrifice worth making. Before leaving, Odion held Ivie close and promised her, "I will return soon, and when I do, I will take you with me to the city. We will build a new life together, one filled with joy and prosperity." Ivie smiled, though her heart was heavy. "I will wait for you, my husband," she said, her voice steady despite the tears that threatened to spill. "May the gods guide you and bring you back to me safely." With a final embrace, Odion set off on his journey, leaving Ivie in the care of his parents. The village women, aware of the young bride's loneliness, kept her company, sharing stories and songs to lift her spirits. Ivie missed her husband terribly, but she took solace in the knowledge that he was working hard for their future. Days turned into weeks, and as the new moon appeared in the sky, a strange unease settled over Ekose. The village elders, who were attuned to the spiritual energies of the land, noticed an unusual stillness in the air. The birds were quieter, and the wind carried an unfamiliar chill. It was during this time that Ivie fell ill. It began as a simple fever, something that could be treated with herbs and rests. But as the days passed, her condition worsened. She became weak, unable to eat or drink. The village healer, a wise old woman with knowledge passed down through generations, was summoned to tend to her. The healer, known as Iye Bose, arrived at Odion's family compound with her bag of herbs and charms. She examined Ivie carefully, chanting incantations under her breath as she mixed potions to ease the young woman's suffering. But despite her efforts, Ivie's condition did not improve. Iye Bose grew concerned. "This is no ordinary illness," she whispered to Odion's mother, her brow furrowed with worry. "There are forces at work here that I cannot see. We must consult the oracle." The oracle, a revered figure in the village, was known for his ability to communicate with the spirit world. He was a man of few words, but his visions were said to be powerful and true. Odion's parents, desperate to save their daughter-in-law's life, agreed to seek his counsel. The oracle lived in a scheduled part of the village, in a hut surrounded by ancient trees. The air around his dwelling was thick with the scent of incense, and the ground was littered with offerings left by those who sought his wisdom. Odion's parents, accompanied by Iyebose, made their way to the oracle's hut with heavy hearts. They were greeted by the oracle's apprentice, a young boy who led them inside. The oracle, a man with deep-set eyes that seemed to see into the very soul, sat cross-legged on a mat, surrounded by symbols of his craft. Skulls, feathers, and bones lay scattered around him, and the fire crackled in a clay pot, casting flickering shadows on the wall. Without a word, the oracle gestured for them to sit. He closed his eyes and began to chant, his voice low and melodic. As he spoke, the fire in the pots flared, and the room filled with a strange light. Odion's parents watched in awe as the oracle entered a trance, his body swaying gently as he communicated with the spirits. After what seemed like an eternity, the oracle opened his eyes and looked directly at Odion's parents. "The spirits are restless," he said, his voice filled with an otherworldly echo. "There is a dark presence surrounding your son's wife. Her illness is not of this world. It is a curse placed upon her by those who wish to see your family destroyed." Odion's mother gasped, clutching her chest in fear. "Who would do such a thing?" she cried. "Ivy is a kind and gentle soul. She has harmed no one." The oracle shook his head. "The curse is not aimed at her directly, but at your son. There are those who are envious of his success, who do not wish to see him prosper. They have sent this curse to strike at his heart through the one he loves." Iyebose, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "Is there any way to break the curse? To save Ivie?" The oracle closed his eyes again, his face a mask of concentration. "There is a way," he said slowly, "but it is dangerous. The spirits demand a sacrifice, a life for a life. Only then can the curse be lifted." Odion's parents were stunned into silence. The weight of the oracle's word hung heavy in the air. They knew they could not ask anyone to make such a sacrifice, and yet they could not bear the thought of losing Ivie. The oracle, seeing their anguish, offered one final piece of advice. "Sometimes the spirits take what they desire, and no power on earth can stop them. But know this, love is a force stronger than any curse. It may not save her body, but it will protect her spirit." With those words, the oracle dismissed them, leaving Odion's parents to grapple with the knowledge that their daughter-in-law's fate was sealed. The days that followed were filled with sorrow. Ivie's condition continued to deteriorate, and no amount of prayers or offering could save her. Odion's parents and the villagers did all they could to make her comfortable, but it was clear that her time was drawing near. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in a golden glow, Ivie called for Odion's mother. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper, but there was a calmness in her eyes that had not been there before. "Iye," she said softly, "I know that my time is near. I am not afraid, for I know that Odion and I will be together again, in this world or the next." Odion's mother wept as she held Ivie's hand. "Oh, my daughter, if only Odion were here. He would have moved mountains to save you." Ivie smiled faintly. "Tell him not to mourn me for too long. Tell him that my love for him will never fade, even in death." With those final words, Ivie closed her eyes and took her last breath. The village mourned her passing, and her body was prepared for burial according to the customs of their people. She was laid to rest in the village graveyard, surrounded by the spirit of the ancestors who would guide her on her journey to the afterlife. Days turned into weeks, and life in Ekose slowly returned to normal. But the village could not shake the feeling that something was amiss. Strange occurrences began to happen, things that could not be explained by logic or reason. At night, some villagers claimed to see a shadowy figure wandering near the graveyard. Others spoke of hearing soft whisper on the wind, calling out Odion's name. Meanwhile, in the faraway city, Odion continued to work hard, unaware of the tragedy that had befallen his wife. He often thought of Ivie and wondered how she was doing back in the village. He wrote letters to her, telling her about his new life and the plans he had for their future together. But strangely, he never received any replies. He assumed that the letters were simply delayed, given the distance between them. One evening, after a long day at work, Odion returned to his small apartment in the city. As he unlocked the door and stepped inside, he was greeted by a sight that took his breath away. There, standing in the middle of the room, was Ivie. She looked just as beautiful as he remembered, with a warm smile on her face and a glow in her eyes. "Ivie!" Odion exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace her. "How did you get here? I've missed you so much." Ivie smiled gently and said, "I've missed you too, my husband. I couldn't bear to be apart from you any longer, so I came to join you here." Odion, overjoyed and overwhelmed, did not question how Ivie had found him or why she had arrived without informing him. He was simply happy to have her back by his side. That night, they talked for hours, sharing stories and laughing as if no time had passed. Odion was filled with a sense of peace and contentment that he had not felt since he left the village. In the days that followed, Ivie settled into life in the city with ease. She and Odion resumed their life as husband and wife, and before long, they were blessed with children. Odion was overjoyed, feeling as though all his dreams had come true. He was proud to be a father and worked even harder to provide for his growing family. Yet, there was something about Ivie that Odion could not quite place. She was as loving and caring as ever, but there was a certain sadness in her eyes, a quiet sorrow that lingered just beneath the surface. Sometimes, when Odion would come back from work, he would find her staring out the window, lost in thought. When he asked her what was on her mind, she would simply smile and say, "I'm just thinking of the past, of the life we had in the village." Odion thought nothing of it, believing that Ivie was simply homesick. He promised her that one day they would visit the village, but for now, they needed to focus on their new life in the city. Meanwhile, back in Ekose, Odion's mother had grown increasingly worried. It had been many months since Odion had left, and there had been no word from him. The village had tried to send letters to him, but they had received no response. As time passed, Odion's mother could no longer bear the uncertainty. She decided that she would travel to the city to find her son. The journey was long, but Odion's mother was determined. She knew that something was not right, and she needed to see her son with her own eyes. After many days of travel, she finally arrived in the city and made her way to Odion's workplace. When she arrived, she was relieved to find that Odion was still employed there. The workers at the company directed her to his home, and with a heart full of anticipation, she made her way to his home. As she approached the door, Odion's mother felt a strange sense of unease. The air around the apartment was heavy, and she could feel a chill in her bones. She knocked on the door, and after a few moments, Odion answered, his face lighting up with joy when he saw her. "Yay! What a surprise!" Odion exclaimed, pulling her into a warm embrace. "I've missed you so much. How is everyone in the village?" Odion's mother smiled, though her heart was pounding in her chest. "We are well, my son, but we have been worried about you. It has been so long since we last heard from you." Odion led his mother inside, and as they entered the apartment, he called out, "Ivie, come quickly. Iya is here to see us." There was no response. Odion frowned and walked towards the back of the apartment, calling out again, but Ivie did not appear. Ivie's mother watched him, her anxiety growing with each passing moment. Finally, Odion returned to the living room, a puzzled look on his face. "She was just here," he said, confusion evident in his voice. "I don't understand where she could have gone." At that moment, Odion's mother noticed something on the wall that made her blood run cold. It was a family portrait showing Odion, Ivie, and their children. In the portrait, Ivie looked exactly as she was the last time Odion's mother saw her in the village before her death. Odion's mother felt the room spin around her. She sank into a chair, clutching her chest as the realization hit her. "Odion," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That is not Ivie. Your wife. She is dead." Odion stared at his mother, disbelief and confusion written all over his face. "What are you saying, Iye? Ivie is alive. She's been with me all this time. We have children together." Tears streamed down his mother's face as she tried to make him understand. "No, Odion. Ivie died shortly after you left the village. We buried her ourselves. The woman you have been living with, she is a spirit." Odion's mind raced as he tried to process what his mother was saying. It couldn't be true. Ivie was alive. He had seen her, touched her, held her. And yet, as he looked around the empty apartment, doubt began to creep into his heart. "Iye, you must be mistaken," Odion said, his voice shaky. "Iye, Ivie has been with me all this time. How could she be dead?" His mother's face was etched with sorrow as she reached out to him. "I wish it were not true, my son. But I cannot deny what I know. Ivie was taken from us by a terrible illness. We did everything we could, but the gods had other plans. We buried her in the village, and her spirit must have found its way to you." Odion's world seemed to crumble around him. The memories of the past months came rushing back. The strange looks Ivie sometimes gave him, the moments when she seemed distant, the times when she disappeared without explanation. It all began to make sense now, and the truth hit him like a thunderbolt. Suddenly, a soft cry echoed through the apartment. Odion's children, who had been playing in another room, came running into the living room. "Daddy, where is Mommy?" one of them asked, looking up at him with wide eyes. Odion knelt down and hugged his children tightly, his heart breaking. Mommy had to go somewhere for a while," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "But she loves you very much, and she will always be with us in our hearts." His mother too knelt beside him, her tears mixing with his. "The gods have their reasons, my son," she whispered. "But know that Ivie's love for you and your children was so strong that even death could not keep her away." Despite the overwhelming grief that now consumed him, Odion knew that he had to return to the village to see for himself. He needed to confirm what his mother had told him, to confront the reality of Ivie's death. With a heavy heart, he packed his belongings, gathered his children, and prepared for the journey back to Ekose. The journey home was sober and filled with silence. Odion's thoughts were a whirlwind of emotions, love, loss, disbelief, and a deep, aching sadness. He held his children close, knowing that they too would have to face the truth. When they finally arrived at Ekose, the villagers gathered to welcome Odion back, but their faces were somber as they greeted him, for they knew what he had come to learn. Odion's father, who had grown pale in his absence, embraced him tightly, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Come, my son," his father said softly. "There is something you must see." Odion followed his father to the village graveyard, a quiet place shaded by tall trees. The air was heavy with the scent of earth and flowers, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the wind. As they walked among the graves, Odion felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. Finally, they reached a simple grave marked with a stone. Odion's father pointed to it, and Odion's heart clenched as he read the name inscribed there: Ivie, beloved wife. Odion fell to his knees beside the grave, his body shaking with sobs. It was true. Ivie was gone. The woman he had lived with, the mother of his children, was nothing more than a spirit who had come to him out of love. The villagers stood around him, their heads bowed in respect and sorrow. Odion's mother knelt beside him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "She came back to you because her love was too strong to be contained by death," she whispered. "But now, her spirit has found peace. She has returned to the land of the ancestors, where she will watch over you and your children." In the days that followed, Odion struggled to come to terms with the reality of his situation. His heart was heavy with grief, but he also felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew that Ivie's love has transcended the boundaries of life and death, and that her spirit had been with him when he needed her most. The village elders, recognizing the extraordinary nature of what had happened, performed special rites to honor Ivie's spirit and to ensure that she would find peace in the afterlife. They also blessed Odion and his children, asking the gods to protect them and guide them through the difficult times ahead. Though Odion's heart was broken, he found solace in the knowledge that Ivie's love would always be a part of him. He returned to the city with his children, determined to honor her memory by raising them with the same love and care that she had shown. Years passed, and Odion's children grew up hearing stories of their mother, the woman whose love was so powerful that it defied death itself. They carried her legacy with them, knowing that they were the product of a love that was stronger than any curse or sorrow. Odion, too, found peace in his heart. He never remarried, choosing instead to devote himself to his children and to the memory of the woman who had loved him so deeply. He often visited her grave in the village, bringing offerings and speaking to her spirit, knowing that she was always with him. As the sun sets on the tale of Odion and Ivie, we are reminded that the stories of our ancestors, rich in love, mystery, and tradition, continue to shape our lives today. Their lessons echo through time, offering us wisdom, comfort, and a deeper understanding of the world around us. But this is just one of the many stories waiting to be told. Stay with us as we journey deeper into the heart of Africa, where every corner holds a new adventure, every whisper of the wind carries an ancient secret, and every beat of the drum tells a tale of life, love, and the enduring human spirit. And don't forget to share the stories to your families and friends all over the world, for there are many more captivating stories to come. Stories that will stir your soul, spark your imagination, and leave you eager for more. Until then and forever, may the Creator of the universe continue to protect you on your own journey. Bye guys!